Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back from Thanksgiving break. I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend, their nice long weekend, and let's get ready to go. We only have a few more weeks left until we get a nice long 2-week winter break. So today in class, we started talking about transformations, and in class today, we talked about translations. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about reflections. I'm going to do a little bit about translations first, and then we'll do our introduction for reflections. Here we go. So in geometry, a transformation, that's what this whole unit is on, transformations, is the way to change the position of a figure. In some transformations, the figure retains its size and only its position is changed. Examples of this type of transformation are translations, rotations, and reflections. So as we talked about in class today, translations, they stay congruent. So translations, rotations, and reflections all stay congruent. They stay the same size. What we're going to talk about next week, I think probably, is something called dilations, which don't stay congruent because they don't just change the position, they change the size. So congruent means it stays the same size. So translations, rotations, reflections stay the same size. They're congruent. Just change the position. Translation is a transformation that slides a figure across a plane or through space. With translation, all points of a figure move the same distance and the same direction. Basically, translation means that a figure has moved. An easy way to remember what translation means is a translation is a change in location. A translation is a change in location. It's usually specified by a direction and a distance. So usually they'll say you're going to move to the right and they'll kind of draw like a little arrow, say you're moving this far in that direction. Okay, but translation is a slide. All you're doing is basically taking the image and sliding it over one way. For example, look at this adorable little picture of Marvin. So I went out Black Friday morning. I don't have any children, so where did I go? I had to go to Petco. And they were giving away these adorable little antlers. Remember the Grinch? He put this on his little dog Max. Yeah, I had tortured Marvin with this all weekend. So original, if we have this picture of Marvin, and then we slide it, and that's not what I want to do. You just slide it right over it. That's a translation. And then we can go back here. So this is the original. All I'm doing is sliding it right over, and there's what our image looks like. Did not change the way it was facing. The only thing I changed was its location. Still looks exactly the same. Marvin's still as cute as he was before, but we just changed the location. Here we go from triangle A to triangle B. All we did was slide it over to the right. Here this translation in A and from A to B went to the right, and it also went down. So you could think about going right and then down, or you can kind of think about we're going diagonally down to the right. Okay, you're allowed to do two different directions for a translation. All right, so now tomorrow we're going to talk about reflections. When you think about reflection, the first word that probably pops into your mind, maybe two words. You could have flip, or you could think of mirror. So think about when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's your reflection, or like when you're taking a selfie, it's your reflection, everything's flipped over. So before the reflection, we have the smiley face that's right side up. When you flip it or rotate it over this line, we call that the mirror line or the line of reflection. So when you reflect it over the line, it's now upside down or backwards. It still looks exactly the same, but when it changed its position, it flipped over now and it looks different. This is something meaning that we changed the orientation. Okay, so now we're facing a different way. So after a shape is reflected, it looks like a mirror image of itself. Again, we took this little Pac-Man dude and we flipped him over our line of reflection, and now he's facing the other way. Think about like physically taking something, like you have your hand here and my palm is facing to my iPad. I flip it over the line, now my palm is going to be face up. Okay, so little Pac-Man's facing the same way. Remember, it's the same but backwards. Would this be a reflection? No, because they're not facing. So this one is up. So if we were to flip this over, it would need to be up over here. Over here, since he's facing, he's opening up towards the line. On this side, he'd have to be open up towards the line. So when you're flipping it, it's kind of sort of facing in the same direction, but not. It's backwards. So conclusion. We discussed really 2. We haven't done 3 yet. Okay, we kind of sort of talked about 3, but really talked about translation and reflection. So when we flip something, that's a reflection. When we slide it, that's a translation. Later we're going to talk about turns, which are rotations. Okay, so we're going to have 4 different types of transformations we're talking about. When they change the position, but they stay the same size, we have translation, rotation, reflection. And we're going to talk about something that changes the size so it's not congruent. It's called a dilation. All right, I have a couple of questions for you. So first question, this is question number 1. Determine if each set of figures shows a reflection or a translation. So 1A, these triangles, is that a reflection or is that a rotation? Not a rotation, translation. And then B, are these rectangles a reflection or a translation? Number 2, what kind of transformation do you think you see in this picture? Translation or reflection? Number 3, what type of transformation is in this picture? Translation or reflection? And number 4, what type of transformation in this picture? Translation or reflection? All right, have a good night.